Guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 16 means that we have got a 2-game Saturday slate. One game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. The second game between the Staley-less Los Angeles Chargers and the Buffalo Bills coming out to Los Angeles to play in the Dome. Good weather game, obviously, for them. This one could get a little bit out of pocket, a little bit out of hand. A lot of players missing off of this slate, so plenty of injury news, but be sure that you keep up with that all the way up until lock. We'll know inactives 90 minutes before both of those games on Saturday. The easiest way to keep up with everything is to surround yourself with like-minded individuals who are trying to get better every single day at Daily Fantasy. The easiest way to do that is to hop into our Discord. It's smizzle.tv/Discord. Become a server subscriber, $5 a month, which gets you access to all the VIP rooms, as well as my weekly main slate DraftKings cheat sheet. Comes out every Friday during the regular NFL season. And the bonus, like I said, is you surround yourself with thousands of people who are just trying to get better and discussing every single slate in every single sport within our VIP rooms in Discord. You can also get access to those by becoming a channel member here on YouTube. You just have to link your Discord to YouTube. People have had issues with it before, but a sub's a sub, and if you want to sub here, it's the same price, same terms in Discord, smizzle.tv/join. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it as always. Drop a like on the video, leave a reply down below, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
The Week 16 main slate Smiz Gang Listener League is posted. It is $10. It's 3 max, but it does not exist in the DraftKings lobby because it's the best tournament on DraftKings, because it's absolutely no rake. You have to go to smizzle.tv/links. You will find the link to that and everything else that I do in the link tree. So go to smizzle.tv/links right now and get your 3 entries into the Listener League. 10% of the prize pool goes to first place. 10% of first place goes to 10th place. Great flat payout arc, and I will shout out the winners on the recap video on Monday on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel. Here's the 2 games that are on this slate. As I said, a close and contestable game with the Bengals against the Steelers, low total of 37. The Bills square off against the Chargers, who are in a downspin, just an absolute tailspin for them. Awful. They've lost just about everybody. There's not much left. They even got rid of their coaches. Keenan Allen's not there. Herbert's not there. Mike Williams not there. It's bad. It's really bad. They are 11.5-point dogs at home with a total of 44. So the Bills look like they could be the absolute chalk on this slate. Let's take a look. Let's go team by team. I always find that that's the easiest way to break down these short slates, and then we'll go over to Fantasy Labs and take a look at how we're going to attack this with 150 lineups for either the mini max or the big one. So starting with Cincinnati. In the absence of Joe Burrow, Jake Browning has done just fine. He's done absolutely fine. Like, exceptional even. In the 3 games that he started, 29.66 DraftKings points, 24.7, 22.96 against Minnesota. Now, the degree of difficulty is much higher this week versus the last 2 for Jake Browning. He's only 6,100. The degree of difficulty being higher is because Jamar Chase is not expected to play in this game. So that changes the value equation because he's priced 7,500. Everybody else was priced somewhat accordingly. T. Higgins, after the big game that he got a bump because it was a chance when salaries came out. Because they played early last week, everybody kind of knew that Chase got injured in that game and may not play, so they bumped his price up by like about 10%, 6,500. He is going to pop as a value because he should garner 7 to 12 targets in this game as the alpha wide receiver. Good audition for him going into an offseason where he's probably going to get franchise tagged and maybe can get some negotiating leverage. If in Chase's absence, he looks like the guy that's going to just, blow up like everybody thinks he is, an alpha in waiting. But that's a whole topic for a different video. At 6,500, he's a good value. You're also going to see Tyler Boyd probably see an uptick in terms of his target market share. He's a tough pill to swallow, but we've seen him in the absence of receivers before have a much higher floor, but it's tough for him to ceiling. The other player that gets a big bump in terms of routes run historically when Chase has been out or Higgins has been out has been the Croc Hunter, Trent Irwin. We'll see if he runs more routes or if it's going to be Yoshi, Andre Yeshivas, who caught 2 balls, 1 for 5. Both of those guys are just kind of dart throw type players. At tight end, Tanner Hudson, 5 more targets last week. He seems to have a solid floor at 3,600. Drew Sample and Irv Smith are kind of one target guys, like 3 for him last week. Wow, he popped off for 3 targets against Minnesota. Fantastic. And at running back, Joe Mixon, as inefficient as he's been both last year and this year, he still does get enough volume to put up numbers like this. 29.7 points against Jacksonville, against Indianapolis, who's very giving to opposing running backs, 21.5 points. And the Steelers have been like a bottom 10 defense in terms of versus the running back position. On the other side, the 2 most glaring values are both at running back on the slate and on this team. Jaylen Warren at 5,400. He's the thing everybody wants to be a thing, but he hasn't been a thing. We could name him Fetch if you want to. Moving forward, stop trying to make Fetch a thing. It's not going to happen, right? Stop trying to make Fetch happen. He's just locked in here. This is what we talked about earlier this season, right? He was coming off these 3 big games in a row, and it was like, well, they're just going to give Jaylen Warren the ball, and he's finally going to get it's not going to be a thing. They want Jaylen Warren at about 12 to 15, 12 to 16 opportunities and no more. Luckily, no less. 12 opportunities in week 14, 12 in week 13 against Arizona. Last time they played Cincinnati, 16 opportunities. Last week against Indy, 16 opportunities. He's going to float there. He needs to break long touchdowns like he did in this game. 74-yarder, 20-yard touchdown in this game. He almost had one against Indy, but, George Pickens decided not to block. The problem is that Najee Harris is just soaking up an awful lot of usage. Kind of the same, similar usage that Jaylen Warren is getting. 12 to 16 opportunities. They're snapping about 50-50. Harris is a little bit on the positive side of that, 55-45, depending on the sample size that you look at. And he's getting the inside of the 5 carries. So, not only does Harris become an annoyance, but he takes away a lot of the easy, high leverage touches from somebody like Jaylen Warren. But on a short slate like this, you might need the value at running back if you did not want to play a couple of the other plays, which I understand because they are much more expensive. At wide receiver, Deontay Johnson, I don't know, touchdowns in the last 3, but you take touchdowns away, it's a 10-point game, it's an 8-point game, it's a 7-point game. We used to be able to count on 8 to 12 targets a game from Deontay Johnson, one of the league's best separators, but at quarterback, they just can't get it done. George Pickens, same sort of thing, big time ceiling, but just can't get it done in this offense because the quarterback play. Mitch Trubisky has been bad. Kenny Pickett has been bad. And if you want to go with the Christmas narrative, if I could get this to stop being blue, they're playing Rudolph on Christmas weekend. Maybe my producer can put some antlers and a red nose on Mason Rudolph's screenshot here. I don't know. It's absolutely the worst narrative of all time, but hey, it's a narrative and it's there. And he's 4,800 and you're probably not playing him, and it doesn't matter. And the reason you're not playing him is because every single person is going to play Josh Allen on the slate. Everybody is playing Josh Allen. He might be the highest owned quarterback on a non-showdown slate of the season. There's just nowhere else to really go other than maybe Jake Browning. So it's 8,100 to get to Josh Allen, and I do believe that you can easily fit him into lineups this Saturday based on the ones that I've kind of kicked around. So Josh Allen in the highest team total, the highest total of all 4 teams, his unicorn status with rushing ability and everything else. You can leverage off of him with James Cook coming off of his best game as a pro with 28 opportunities, 179 rushing yards, has looked absolutely fantastic and explosive all season long. And due to the injuries at running back, might be taking on a little bit more of a role here, where they've moved Latavius Murray from massive annoyance and thorn in our side to 5 opportunities, all on runs. One of them was a touchdown. That's annoying, but not as annoying. And their best bet is to be ridiculously active with James Cook against the Chargers defense that to say they could be had, they've been gotten multiple times. Let's take a look at the wide receivers, though. This is all the pass catchers on Buffalo the last 2 games that they've played. You can see weeks 13 through 15 here. Steph Diggs, as disappointed as people are in him, he is leading the team in targets almost by double over the second leading receiver the last 2 games that they've played. I expect kind of a big game from him in this one, as they probably can do whatever they want to do. I would assume that they're going to try to get him active and happy early in this game, try to hit him deep, get him some easy short catches could be the perfect DraftKings scenario for him going up against this Chargers team. 61 pass plays that they've run in the last 2 games, and Gabe Davis has earned 3 targets. That's god awful. This is all since the return of Dawson Knox, and Dawson Knox only playing on like half the plays. Really, it's this triple right here, and like I'm not shocked that Shakir has been out there as much as he's been with 49 pass routes, pass plays that he's been out there for, but only able to gain 2 targets. James Cook has earned 8 of them. So like if we sort by target, you can kind of see James Cook has not been out there in as many pass routes, but it's basically Gabe Davis, Kincaid, and Diggs out there more often than anybody else. They sprinkle in some Dawson Knox 2 tight end stuff. They sprinkle in some Shakir where he's spending 82% of the time in the slot. So that's kind of how you want to look at these wide receivers and pass catchers for them. Diggs, 8,700, has not performed the way that we want him to, though. 11 targets, 8 targets, 3 of the last 4 games, had a 19.4 point game against Philly. This is a get right spot. This was a gauntlet. Denver, Patrick Surtain, Sauce Gardner and the Jets. Philly has been gettable for opposed. Their defense has not been good against wide receivers, and that was his best game. Kansas City, Snead has done a fantastic job of shutting everybody down this year at cornerback. And Dallas, though they got after Dallas, they were not able to do it through the air. It was all on the ground. So like this ridiculous gauntlet of teams they faced the last 5 weeks might be the thing that's pushing people off of Stephon Diggs, even though his price has hung on at like 8,700. I believe there's a big game incoming for him. We shall see. Gabe Davis, 5,300, with his 3 Blutarski games in the last 4, surrounded by the 25 points against Philadelphia. This is another, like I said, a lot of things could happen in this game where random touchdowns are scored by Buffalo players because of how bad this Chargers team has been. And also a Blutarski from Shakir last week. Again, would not shock me if he caught like a 50-yard touchdown. Kincaid, limited participant on Wednesday. Monitor that as it goes along. Not shocked about this game against Dallas. He should return to this level of targets, 5, 6 to 8 targets against this Chargers team. And then looking at the other side, it's a hot mess. Keenan Allen expected to miss this game, so that opens up an awful lot of opportunity for somebody like Joshua Palmer, who has not really done that much as a number 1 receiver. He profiles best as a 3, like from an NFL standpoint. If he's your 3rd best wide receiver that you're dressing that day, he can actually go off. Now for DraftKings, we care more about volume than anything else. They got run out of the building against the Raiders in week 15. They fired their coach after that game. They've lost the locker room. Now we do see sometimes a dead cat bounce from these teams when they play against, or sorry, not against, but when they come off of a game where their coach got fired. I don't think that this is a situation like the Raiders where when they fired their coach, the team was so excited about they didn't mess with that dude at all. I think that Staley was liked in that locker room, but like so many bad things have happened there. So many injuries have happened there. It's just, they've been stacked, everything stacked against them so far. So like maybe we see a dead cat bounce from the Chargers, but like probably not against this Bills team. I don't think so. I'm hoping that they can keep pace, but the problem is not just receivers, and Quentin Johnston has not done well this year, but it's at quarterback, because losing somebody like Justin Herbert. Easton Stick had a good fantasy game by box score watching, but like when you're down 49-0 at halftime and the other team kind of throttles down and takes their starters out, and you're playing against, second stringers at multiple positions, and they're playing extremely vanilla defense in the second half, you can score 21 points and make it look like a respectable game for fantasy. And maybe that's going to happen this week as well if they get down by 30 or 40 points in this game. But the odds are that something like that isn't going to happen, and they're going to come from behind to challenge. Austin Eckler, he of the 13-mile-per-hour run earlier this year, should see enough targets to be viable, but he got 6 targets and only scored 7.8 points. This is not the same Austin Eckler that we've seen before. Sadly, one of my favorite players in the league the last few years to watch play, to roster in fantasy. He may just be dealing with this injury that he's had and all of the injuries that have mounted up over the years. I'm hoping that he can make a comeback next year to fantasy. I don't want to say relevance, but like dominance, right? He's never been like, well, he's fantasy relevant. No, he's been a fantasy dominant player. I'm not sure that we see that guy the rest of this season, and then nobody else is going to get enough carries to make it worthwhile. At wide receiver, you're looking at Palmer and Johnston, maybe somebody like Guyton, but he's been getting out-snapped by Alex Erickson. Like, it's really bad. And then maybe at tight end, you go with Everett, just because there's nobody left. And at 3,500, he should get enough targets to warrant making it worthwhile. I do think the double tight end is viable on a slate like this. So let's head over to Fantasy Labs. And if you do not have an account over at Fantasy Labs, go to smizzle.tv/labs with an uppercase L. The best value that they offer is the 6-month package where you get projections and the lineup builder for NFL, college football with bowl season incoming, NBA, which goes every night, NHL, and you'll catch the opening of Major League Baseball, golf, everything else. Lineup builder for all of those sports if you're a daily fantasy grinder. Here's where I start for short slates specifically. I don't set very many rules for short slates. I open up the amount of percentage because you can just play more guys. I set a rule for this to have like 2 players that are under 30%. You can apply those settings and then then you can click generate and build yourself 150 lineups. But if you wanted a more in-depth look about how I build 150 lineups on DraftKings or for DraftKings on the Fantasy Labs lineup builder, check out this video right here and it'll help you build those types of lineups. Thank you guys for being here. Good luck this weekend.